past all of them as well. What a move for the 48. Oh, look at this, and onto the straight they come.
Brilliant move there from the number 40 to make it through. That left-hander sliding up the inside, going up now over Hawthorne Hill, down Pilgrim's Drop, and it's brilliant stuff here at Brands Hatch.
Hello everybody and welcome to Brands Hatch. It's time for the final round in the Asetek SimSports GT Challenge, and tonight we've got 90 minutes to settle 4 championships that are still absolutely wide open. The uphills and downhills, the lefts and rights of this wonderful scenic countryside circuit, the Brands Hatch circuit, is going to play host to our championship finale and multi-class GT racing as well for the first time in a little while since I've seen it here in iRacing. It's myself, Ewan O'Leary, and Peter Mackay who will be alongside me. A new challenge, Peter, compared to what we've seen at Spa 2 weeks ago, especially to Silverstone at the start of the season as well. A narrow circuit for multi-class racing where mistakes you can very ill afford to have.
This is going to be a super tricky race for our drivers, purely about traffic, getting through the traffic quickly if you're in the GT3 class, but also if you're in the GT4, trying not to get involved in somebody else's incident. This is going to be a really nail-biting finale to what's been a fantastic season so far.
That's where we've been in the season as of right now, and just to remind you, this is what the guys are going for. The first place prize is a 1-hour session in the base performance simulator GT sim random selection for those who have completed more than 50% of all the races, a La Prima sim racing pedal set, and the driver who scores the most points in any of the championships, La Prima direct drive wheelbase with quick release adapter. We'll get to who's leading the overall later because that is a bit more complicated. Let's see who's leading in each class though, because that is a lot more simple, starting with GT3 Pro. Remy Gilbert is leading the way ahead of Gal Valero, knowing that only a top 5 is required for him to seal the title in this final round. Luciano Vitva is third ahead of George Streetley and Keith Stewart, who are in a close fight for 4th. Brian Ward is just outside that top 5 with Jordan Pearce and Mike Barber tied for 7th. It's Jack Southfield who is 9th ahead of Nathaniel Simpson, who rounds out the top 10. In GT3 AM, it's just 9 points that Gianluca Elia has over the rest of the field, knowing that the situation a lot more desperate for him. A top 2 would only seal it, no matter what everybody else does, with Nuno Costa, Adam Locke and Adam Grevson so close behind. Alistair Leckie is not in championship contention mathematically anymore, and neither is Tom Weston, who has 4 points over Dan Ciotti. Nick Dealey, Nick Asti and Marco Silva round out the top 10 in GT3 AM. GT4 Pro was blown wide open by the race at Spa, and Kieran Sharp and Richardson have a great chance both at winning the title. Both can do it with a win today. Mike Pollard is still involved, and so is Richard Jepp, but Matthew Crisp is not in 5th place. He's tied with Daniel Thomas. Jonas Janum is 7th ahead of Stuart Bickley, and Leo Leibold is on minus points. By the way, you get those for not participating in races. Then we go to GT4 AM, the biggest of the leads, apart from GT3 Pro, where it's a pretty close run thing, of all of them. Oliver Ettridge, again, so dominant, 27 points ahead of the rest of the field. He only needs a top 8 today to be crowned champion. Nathan Tiger will be doing his best to chase him down. Matt Cheverton as well. Louis Hesketh is the first driver, no longer in contention. Steve Koenig is in the top 5, along with James Magersgale, Andy Schell, Alistair Pollock, Carl Chase and Janeman Preuss, who I think will be back at 10th place for him after missing Spa 2 weeks ago. So those are a look at the championship standings. I think it's fair to say that GT3 AM and GT4 Pro are where it's most interesting here, Peter, but that doesn't mean that because there's no drop weeks, there's no safety net to fall back on, really. And so anyone who's leading a championship here could fall at the final hurdle.
And Brands Hatch is just so well known for really dramatic championship finales. I mean, you think back to Dan Camish in the British Touring Car Championship a few years ago. He had it in the bag, and a brake failure cost him the championship. He ended up in the gravel. If you're a motorcycle racing fan, well, the finale of the 2011 British Superbike Championship with Tommy Hill and John Hopkins is one of the greatest racing laps you'll ever see in your life. And this place just, I don't know, it has something special for that, for dramatic championship finales. But as a circuit, the uphill, down-dale nature of it, as a one-off qualifying lap like the drivers are now, doesn't get a great deal better.
Absolutely. In terms of driving enjoyment as well, if you're having a good time around here, then you are certainly enjoying yourself at this location. And yeah, we often use the phrase in commentary, you couldn't write it to describe something that obviously hasn't been written. The British Superbike Championship is the closest I've ever been to thinking something was written, because you could hardly write something better than that, and we do overuse that phrase slightly, but there you go. If you've not seen it, then look it up. It's not very difficult to find. The gap between GT3 and GT4 round here is maybe a little bit larger than you'd expect for such a short circuit. 7 seconds just over, but I feel that speaks to the differences in these two cars. Well, they're not totally different as overall packages. We saw that at Spa, where they weren't too dissimilar in some respects. I think this circuit really highlights the GT3's advantages in sort of comparison with the GT4s. Maybe these high-speed corners, they don't enjoy them so much as the GT3s.
I think that this circuit is not about power, it's not about straight line speed, which actually the GT4 straight line speed isn't too bad. It's about corner speed, downforce. It's all about downforce here at Brands Hatch. Also having a compliant car too that can handle the bumps, but particularly downforce, and that's where the GT3s are in another universe to the GT4s. The GT4s are so close to their road-going counterparts. You look at, say, a BMW M4, really not that different. You look at, say, the BMW M4 CSL road car, and you look at the GT4 car, they really are very, very similar. The Porsche is probably the best example. You can buy a GT4 for the road in the 718 form, or you could when it was available, and it's so close to the GT4. The GT3s have got much more bespoke aerodynamics, bigger wings, bigger splitters, etc. They really are a much quicker car around the circuit.
Yeah, and it's a great demonstration of their strengths. This is Nathan Targ, who really needs a good performance today to overhaul Oliver Ettridge, who has yet to set a time. He could do with not starting at the back, let's say, because there are 39 cars on the grid here. Normally you see a bit of a dip towards the end of the season in terms of numbers, but because it's so short, I feel, everybody's thought, well, I'm going to do the whole season, going to commit to it, and that's what we're seeing here, which is a good thing. I mean, we saw Ettridge so strong in the Spa race, 90 minutes round there, of course, as well, a couple of weeks ago. I mean, he was mixing it up with the pros for a lot of the first stint, especially, and such a strong driver. He's very much earned his sizable championship lead over Nathan Targ. It stands currently at 27 points, and he could lose 27 points with an 8th place finish today, but on countback he would still win. So he is in such a strong position as far as the AMs go in this field. There are more than 8, so he can lose, but the chances are low, and the chances that he gets up there and mixes it up with the pros are quite high based on what we've seen so far this season.
It seems that's like it, but there are just no guarantees, and if you make a mistake here at Brands Hatch and you end up off the road in the wall, it's very hard to recover from. So you really could, your championship could be in your grasp, and one little mistake, you clip a curb on the inside, and before you know it, you're sitting wedged in the barrier and your championship is in tatters. This is short of the Nürburgring, Nordschleife or Bathurst. This has got to be one of the toughest venues to come and finish off a championship.
Yeah, I would say so. Especially if you're looking just UK-wide, it probably is the most difficult place to finish up a title charge. Is that about it? Nearly. Still got a few drivers going around at the moment, including Ettridge, who's gone 8th, by the way. That's overall in GT4, though. That's not in his class, where he's 2nd, just 42 thousandths away from Matt Cheverton, who has taken pole there. And it's Carl Chase, Jake Pitt and Janneman Preuss, the top 5 in that class. I think everybody who is going to set a time has done. Louis Hesketh has yet to emerge from the pit lane, but I feel like he gave it a go and maybe got an off track during his lap. Not entirely sure, but it's not really going to matter. He'll start from the back of GT4 almost to what happens here. And that's a really bad thing at Brands Hatch. It's not the easiest circuit to overtake on at all. The multi-class element may help, but it's not by no means going to make it easy.
No, I think that's going to be one of the key challenges tonight, is getting through traffic for the GT3 cars. If they get stuck behind a GT4 in the wrong place, they could really lose a mega amount of time. So that's something the drivers will have to be very, very aware of. And for the GT4 as well, they're going to be having to watch the mirror all the time, because they're going to know how impatient the GT3s could be.
Yeah. There could be a lot of impatience on shows on shows today. Let's have a look at those who will be starting towards the front, starting with Remy Gilbert in first place. Then Luciano Vitvert alongside Ryan Ward and Gal Valero will share the next row. Valero only 4th ahead of the 2 Porsches, Keith Stewart and Anthony Castles. 7th place will go to George Streetley, who is alongside Jack Southfield, and then Johnny Elliott, who is in 9th place and on pole in AM. Jordan Pearce and Mike Barber separate him from his nearest AM rival in the form of Marco Silva in 12th. Tom Weston is 3rd alongside Adam Locke, who is 4th in that class. Nathaniel Simpson may be disappointed with 15th overall ahead of Nuno Costa. Chico Leventhal is 17th ahead of Andy Jones, with Nick Dealey and Dan Ciotti next. Adam Grevston and Alistair Leckie round out 22 GT3s, only 17 GT4s still to come here, and it starts with Matthew Crisp. Kieran Sharp alongside the championship leader, Richard Simner and Richard Jepp next, with Oliver Ettridge, who did improve at the end there actually, unbeknownst to me. 5th place for him ahead of Mikey Pollard, who joins him on row 3. 7th place will be Stuart Bickley. Matt Cheverton will have thought he had pole there, but he is bumped down to 2nd at the end. Carl Chase and Jake Pitt are next ahead of Janneman Preuss and Nathan Targ, who will be disappointed with 12th place, considering he ideally needs to win here. James Maggers Girl and Alistair Pollock are next ahead of Andy Chell and Stephen Koenig, and then Louis Hesketh, who rounds out the grid as the final of the AM drivers. Let's hope he gets onto the grid. Well, that will leave us with 37 drivers ready for a short formation lap, and maybe the first surprise of the day is Gal Valero's not pole position, excuse me, his qualifying performance there, only in the position of 4th for the moment, on a day where he really does need to win.
So work to do in this 90-minute race. Quite high track temperature, I would say, for this time of year at Brands Hatch, or for the middle of May in Brands Hatch. Even 31 degrees Celsius track temperature. It might climb a touch during the race, but I would think it'll stay around there. So tyres may be a thought, because you really are putting some big load through the tyres at times. I would say the left-hand side tyres are going to take an absolute battering around here, particularly for the GT3s.
Yeah, makes you wonder what they're going to do at their pit stop. Good afternoon to everyone, by the way, in YouTube chat this evening, chatting along with us. Rocco Valentino, unfortunately, telling us that he'll be watching from the sidelines this week instead of racing, as we've seen him do on so many occasions so far. It was his first top 5 of the season 2 weeks ago at Spa, so a shame to not see him out there. But we do have 38 drivers, excuse me, there's another one somewhere, and we unfortunately haven't got Louis Hesketh, who will either start from the pit lane or not at all here in this race. Let's hope that he at least joins us from the pit lane. But glad that you've joined us for the final 90 minutes of the season. It's a season finale at Brands Hatch. Just what more drama could we ask for in the Asetek SimSports GT Challenge here this season? The green flag waves, we are underway as Remy Gilbert gets his final race underway, just as he has done the entirety of this season. A race winner on 2 times this season, already looking to get another one here at Brands Hatch. Up on the way in towards turn 2, they're all single file, and it is even towards turn 1. Back in the GT4s as well. Matthew Crisp taking that pole position into an early lead, and Richard Simner immediately getting ahead there of Kieran Sharp, very crucially, to get underway for a good start in GT4.
All nice and neat and tidy there from the GT3s and GT4s as they come through. And already the GT3s heading up towards Mike Hawthorne Bend, that very quick, tricky right-hander, as the GT4s, they come around Surtees. again, very technical corner there, and trying to carry as much speed as you can onto the straight down Pilgrim's Drop. There's a lot of elevation change here at Brands Hatch.
There certainly is. The reason why, by the way, that pass for second place in GT4 was so crucial is because the two fighting for the championship, Richardson and Kieran Sharp, are at the moment on 2 points apart. So as long as they are eligible for the top 8 points, then it's whoever beats the other, which is what makes it so interesting. Out of the end of an opening lap already, Remy Gilbert getting off to a great start. Ryan Ward in second, then Lucianovic, then Valero, who is fourth. If anybody wants to challenge Remy Gilbert, they have to get absolutely on the back of him right now and follow him immediately. It's already looking like Ryan Ward is struggling to do that.
So Ryan Ward not in the championship fight, just a fight for, well, for him it's more a fight to protect his teammate Remy Gilbert, who's leading the way right now by a good margin and leading this race, and that's perfect rear gunner there is Ryan Ward to hold off Whitfoot and all the rest.
Through the next section for Kieran Sharp, who's ahead of Richard Simner again, and as I mentioned, it is winner takes all between these two. Well, certainly if they do win. Indeed, whoever finishes ahead of the other takes all here in Pro, because there's barely enough pros to push them out of the top 8. It's not going to be one of those tactical days where we're working out who finishes where. It's literally who finishes ahead of who, and that is going to make it so exciting, but so simple indeed for everybody and us actually to work out what's going on in GT4 this evening. A little bit more complicated in GT3, but Johnny Elliott's got off to a good start and is still leading in that class, which is good news for him. And I'm pleased to say that everybody has emerged from the opening lap unscathed. Louis Hesketh did indeed start from the pit lane, but he's out on the circuit. So we've got nearly 40 cars here at Brands Hatch, which I wonder is going to be a problem for the GT3s. Admittedly, they're outnumbering their slower counterparts, but it will still feel pretty relentless at some points in this race with the amount of traffic they've got to deal with and the relative lack of track space they've got to deal with it in.
That's right, and Remy Gilbert, he's trying to make absolutely take no risk. He's just heading off and wanted to win this race and this championship at the front. He's pulled 1.5 seconds away from his teammate Ryan Ward, who has Luciano Whitfoot right behind him, Gael Valero, who's the closest to Gilbert in the championship. And it's going very well right now for these pair of Lamborghinis.
It's the end of another lap for them, and about to be for the GT3s. Just under 5 minutes gone in this race. I wonder how much sitting and waiting we're going to see in the early point in this race, because Spa was a very different race to what I envisioned this race being, to be honest. It was one of those circuits where you're wide open throttle for extended periods of time. Here you're off and on again all the time as you take on the twists and turns and the rises and falls of this circuit, and so fuel consumption will naturally be a little bit better, as these guys are not particularly worrying about that. Gael Valero knows that it's time to move forward if he wants to challenge for the win here, which of course he ideally has to. Remy Gilbert has to finish outside the top 5 for him to be offered any hope here, but Valero the one making moves. Now he's the one though on the defensive as Keith Stewart gets down the inside.
Yeah, Stewart in the blue Porsche there really putting Valero under pressure, and this is not what Valero needs at all. This happened last time out as well. In fact, 2 rounds ago at Snetterton, where it was held up a little bit. Oh dear, there's a little bit of hip and shoulder there as Jack Southfield goes through on Stewart.
And there's a flash of the lights there from Stewart. He's not pleased about that at all, although unsure as to why. Nino Costa has gone back to pit lane, unfortunately. Don't know what that was all about for him, but it's only a presumption around here that you've hit the wall somewhere. Now, you don't often hit the wall at a slow speed around here, so that may be our answer, but we'll get to the bottom of that and let you know when we know. This is Oliver Ettridge, who has been dived by someone in GT4. We just said we don't know ever what can happen around here, and there is something that Oliver Ettridge was hoping not to see today, and he's been slightly hit in the side there by the 73 after the fact as well. That was not good news for the championship leader and race leader as well in GT4 AM.
Yeah, that was Mikey Pollard who got into that. It was a bit of a half-hearted move there from Pollard in the yellow Porsche GT4, and yeah, a little bit tangled up when they were making their way out of the gravel too. So for Ettridge, that's not the ideal start to trying to close off this championship. He does have a decent lead in GT4 AM, excuse me, but this is what happened to Nuno Costa. Just loses it on the curve. Just that's it. That's Brands Hatch. One tiny mistake and you're in the fence. And that for Johnny Elia, his nearest champ. Well, Johnny Elia leading the championship by 9 points from Nuno Costa. That's a dream start for Elia.
It absolutely is. He's got to make sure he doesn't do the same thing himself, of course. But look at that. A great start for Elliott, who is at the head of the AM field anyway, and now in a real strong position to bring it all the way home. The also disadvantage that Nuno Costa has got is that he escaped out on pit lane as well, which was not ideal. I mean, also not a lot that he probably could have done about that. He probably picked himself out the wall, saw a lot of damage and thought, this will go a lot quicker if I go into pit lane. However, he has decided that was well, not the ideal moment to bring it all the way back round again. Instead says, well, I'll go back to pit lane, escape back, and that will cost him a bit of time, because it obviously takes you a little bit of time in iRacing to tow your car back into the lane again. So Ilya in a really strong position. I think a lot of today in GT3 Pro is going to be about the battles, and this one between Jack Southfield and Keith Stewart is going to be a good one. While there's nothing on the line in terms of big picture, it's a top 5 in this race, and they both seem to want 5th place at the moment, and tensions are slightly heightened after that last pass around 4 or 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, it was pretty opportunistic from Southfield. Managed to squeeze through with a little bit of contact, but not excessive contact. And yeah, through he went on Keith Stewart, who's trying to settle the score back again. But at the front, the gap just increasing a little bit more. It's around 2.5 seconds now. Gilbert leading from his teammate Ryan Ward, who in turn has about a second back to Luciano Whitfoot. So Ward he's not backing up the pack or anything like that. Nuno Costa, oh, not again. He's coming out the pits and gets tangled up with a GT4 Porsche.
I think that is directly out the pit lane, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. The pit exit here, not a notoriously bad one, but it's not ideal. You do end up right on the apex of where you want to be for turn 1. And his second disadvantage as well, if he could do with any more, is that his pit stop has meant that he's come out right in amongst of the GT4 cars. I know that the leaders are having to go through GT4s right now anyway, but that's to be expected. They're running at the front. The problem for Costa is that he's passing these guys for actual overall position, and that means effectively he's doing one more lap around the GT4s than he should be this race.
Yeah, it's going to be a long day, but anything can happen here. So I think if you're that close in the championship, it cost only 9 points behind Elia in the championship. So yeah, just keep going. You never know what will come your way, especially in the AM class, where the drivers in the AM class by nature are more prone to a mistake. So there might be others who have similar issues, and you end up climbing back up the order. So keep a close watch on that one. Oh, problem. 87 Porsche Anthony Castles in the wall, and that's coming out of it's coming out of Sheen Curve. Oh, that's quick through there.
Yep, and not nice to get yourself back going from there either. He qualified on row 3, and he's just dumped it from that position too. Not insignificant contact with the wall either, and that will be a long road to recovery for Anthony Castles, not least in terms of damage, but also in terms of just getting himself turned back round again. The disadvantage with this series as well in having early problems is that, although admittedly in any series having problems 10 minutes in is not a great thing for you, the disadvantage here is that the pit strategy is very set out in this series. You do the first half an hour based on the fixed setup fuel, which is given to you at the start of the day, and then you've got another hour after that to go from a full tank of fuel and run that right the way down to the end of the race. The disadvantage around here is that in this series is that if you have problems at any other than the half-hour mark into the race with 1 hour to go, then you can't factor any sort of problems into your strategy. Whereas in other series, when there's a bit more flexibility, maybe not 10 minutes in, but most of the time during the race, you might be able to salvage something by factoring into your strategy. You really can't do that in this series.
That's very true. Very, very true. You don't, and you would effectively cost yourself an extra pit stop. So around 19 minutes until that pit window, kind of where we're going to see a bit of activity in the pits. And here at Brands Hatch, it's a circuit where you can have, you know, your driving style can be really influential to the amount of fuel you use. There's a lot of fast corners where you can kind of roll off the throttle, where you maybe can carry the same corner speed without actually using as much throttle. It sounds strange, but you can do it. You just let the car flow through the corner more. It's Adam Locke following the 44 DCW Racing Porsche coming through a tight hairpin there of Druids. Tom Weston, the car up ahead, and he's right underneath his rear wing.
He is right on the back of him, putting pressure on here for what is 12th place overall. Tom Weston currently holding that place. Out onto the back straight they go, into the very fast right-hander at the bottom of the hill here, through Hawthorne's Bend. Touch a corner where the GT3s will really show their differences to the GT4s. And to be fair, in the context of worldwide motorsport, they're not particularly downforce heavy cars, but compared to the GT4s, they do show their worth. And now Adam Locke will try and go down the inside. That's one of the looks he can have into the penultimate corner at Stirling's Bend. It's not quite as easy as that, as we're side by side up here for second as well. The Johnny Vippert looking around the outside of Ryan Ward. Where does he go now, though? He goes to the outside. He's going to box himself in here if he's not careful. Ryan Ward's down the inside, and he could have seen that coming. The GT4 spins around, and in avoidance, the other one goes around now too. Alistair Pollock being one of them. What a disaster for the slower class.
Oh, straight away, our first real exchange between GT3s and GT4s, and bang, there it goes. Pollock. Well, how do you unpick that one, Ewan?
Well, it's a bit of a mess, really, wasn't it? I personally think Pollock should have seen that car coming down his inside, because it was fairly obvious to me, although you see the off-board angles with more clarity, of course, than you do when you're driving. I don't know, you've always got to be wary of those on your inside as a GT4 driver, and for me, Pollock maybe didn't do that as much as he could and should have done. I'm wondering whether Oliver Ettridge was Porsche that was spun around again there. There, on the right-hand side, just there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was. I think it was a bit. I would say that was a late dive there from Ryan Ward, very late in the GT3. So it would have been. It would have required a complete straightening of the steering for the Mercedes GT4 to allow that open. I think it was maybe a trifle late, but like you say, it's messy. It's tough, and this is what we've expected to be the case at Brands Hatch, and it's proving to be so. And going through the traffic, well, Remy Gilbert is just extending his lead hand over fist. It's up to nearly 4 seconds at the front of the field now. I think maybe a little bit twice bitten, or once bitten, twice shy. Ryan Ward just backed out of a move there on the GT4s. Oh, that's a little bit of contact there then between Ward and Valero, who will surely want to get past Ward and try and give chase to Gilbert.
Didn't back out from that one, though. Oscar Valero looked for his way through. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Ward really... The thing I always look for in a dive is gaining a lot of ground in the braking zone, especially when you're dealing with slower and faster classes like this. Braking performance is often a real difference, or can be a real difference anyway. This is why Richard Jett, by the way, his front end is looking so crumpled. Goodness me, that was a hit on the wall. And he's about to lose 4th place, and there's no surprises about that in my mind. I'm surprised he's still going at the speed he is, actually. I'm surprised his front wheels are working, if I'm being brutally honest there. Look at that front end there. It looks terrible. He's really redesigned that.
He's carrying on.
Yeah.
He's carrying on.
Well, this is the thing. You can't really re-strategize. You've just got to persevere for 15 minutes here.
Well, you might see when he sees the lap time, you might think, I've maybe got to, this is better to get it repaired. But Adam Locke got again a little bit. Oh, he nearly wiped his teammate out there too.
Well, he nearly wiped everybody out. There was lots of people.
Yeah, that was nearly a yard sale.
It could have been an absolute pile-up at the first corner there, but thankfully we narrowly avoided disaster. This is what we expected from Brands Hatch, though. It's drama from start to finish, and we're nowhere near the finish yet. Just under 1 hour 15 remaining in this race, and just after that, Nick Dealey went off the road, almost in sympathy there.
Oh, they almost ran out of road, didn't he? He almost didn't have any tarmac to turn into, so I had to go straight on. That's a shame there for Nick Dealey. Johnny Elia there, their AM leader, the 111 11/10 Porsche. Next, he's running an 8th overall. The next nearest car in class is 11th overall, but just wanting to try and just safely get through the traffic piece by piece. And I think that's going to be the story of the day, you know, and I don't think it's necessarily going to be an outright pace. I think it's going to be just all about that traffic management.
Yeah, it's about that full, well-rounded package, I suppose, of both of those things, or a mix of both, if you like. Can't have one without the other. Here goes Valero, already up to 3rd place after getting past Bitvert. After good moves in the traffic, now he's in danger of losing it if he's not careful. Bitvert looked to the inside there early. He's now doing it again. Can't quite go for it at this time round. Another dive down the inside, this time of Kieran Sharp, the championship leader on the road in GT4 Pro, and is also going into this race too. But will chase the 2 Lamborghinis in front and see if he can find his way through. But I think Valero's got more pace than these first 20 minutes or so have actually shown from him. This race so far is showing him to be a little bit weaker than some of the other tracks, although maybe not all of the other tracks, which I think it was Snetterton he said he didn't like. I can't remember. But he said he had to buy it before the race, and it's not quite like that, but it is maybe not a great circuit for him either, although he's doing okay in the race. Here's Richard Jep, and I think you were right about his lap times, by the way. Here he is getting beaten. Oh well, and that was bullied. Never mind beaten and overtaken there, that was bullied off the road entirely unlawfully, and Richard Jep flashes the lights to show his feelings about it.
Yeah, that was a bit heavy-handed, wasn't it? Just barged out the way. The only thing it could be is that it's maybe catching everyone. Whoa! Wow! Straight off at Sterling's. Yeah,
it's Adam Grevson, one of the only Lamborghinis, and that's maybe one of the reasons why it can snap on you, that car.
Audis.
Yeah.
Same engine.
It's really not nice, that car to drive sometimes. People say it's not ideal for endurance racing as a result of that. Well, in my mind, if it can snap on you in an endurance race, why can't it snap on you in an hour and a half? There we go. Maybe that explains why he's the only one. But to be fair, I think he did clip the grass on the way into the penultimate corner, which not many cars are going to be able to deal with very well.
Yes, it doesn't have the benefit of the Quattro system that the road car has. Yeah, just half a tyre on the grass, and that's the thing. Brands Hatch is old school. The walls are right there. You don't have a great deal of discussion about track limits at Brands Hatch. It's it's grass, gravel, wall, and there are consequences to making a mistake.
Yeah, and that's probably a good thing. And the only track limit discussion I find is that, well, it's not even a discussion to be honest. It just seems to be a free-for-all at Graham Hill Bend at turn 3. There's a bit of AstroTurf on the outside there, and it just seems to be an absolute free-for-all around the outside there sometimes. But there we go. That's pretty much the only discussion that you get. As you can see, gravel on the outside of turn 1. It's fantastically well self-managed, if you like, here at Brands Hatch. Here's Nathaniel Simpson, 15th in GT3 now, and I think this is a display in what positions you can make up just by keeping yourself to yourself and working through the positions from the back, because he didn't quite qualify as well as he would have hoped for, I don't think, here at Nathaniel Simpson, but he's been quietly working his way forward, and he's showing what you can do if you are just quietly keeping yourself to yourself, and he might have a couple more positions here as this battle for 12th place continues into the hairpin.
So one of the other Audis there, holding off the 44 TCW Racing Porsche of Tom Weston, Chico Lentvar in the Audi. As they're now taking their turn to get through the GT4 traffic, and when pit stops start coming into play, that's going to mix it up even more and kind of spread the traffic around the circuit, so there won't be many quiet spots around. 9 minutes until the top of the hour when we should see pit stops beginning, so keep an eye out for that, as race leader Remy Gilbert 7.3 seconds ahead now of Ryan Ward, who is doing exactly his job for the team, holding off Gael Valero as the 911 in the wall. Nathaniel Simpson.
Oh, I shouldn't have said anything. Nathaniel Simpson's in the wall, I'm afraid, at Sheen Curve, and that is a not good looking front end to that Porsche anymore. Ignore that one. It's that Ganty Castles, it is working its way through, and he's got a bit of front end damage as well, though it's not as bad as Simpson's. Does he get in the grass here? I can't see from that angle actually, but you would have thought so, as Gael Valero seemingly has gone into the grass maybe at some point, because he's been passed by Luciano Vivet and Jack Southfield now. So for all his progress, Valero has made one step forward, but now 2 steps back.
Yeah, that's a shame. That's really a shame, and Gael Valero just can't afford that sort of mistake if he wants to challenge Remy Gilbert, who's just starting off really well. And look how 3/4 of a tyre, maybe the whole rear left tyre there for Nathaniel Simpson, and round you go. Brands Hatch bites. Yep,
and so does the curse of the commentator, unfortunately. Sometimes
it's a very contagious strain of commentator curse.
I know. Did I do it to Anthony Castles earlier?
Probably.
Oh dear, sorry everybody. Only Porsches so far though, so I think we're okay otherwise. Meanwhile, Kieran Sharp is still leading this championship battle in GT4. Matthew Crisp is having a great race in the lead of GT4 Pro, and he is out of mathematical contention, so only competing to be best Mercedes with Daniel Thomas in so far this season, but he's only been at 2 of the rounds so far, so maybe showing himself to what he could have done had he been here for all of the rounds so far. But it is effectively a leader takes all situation between these two, and so far Kieran Sharp holds that position, but I don't imagine Simner will be losing any sleep or worrying about this at the moment. It will be in the second part of the race, post pit stops, where it will be worrying about not being in front.
So the gap still increasing at the front of the field then. Ryan Ward 8.4 seconds behind his teammate Luciano Whitput, not able to break that stronghold there, sitting in third in that bright orange Porsche. So, and who's going to be first to come down the pit road? Who's been strong on the fuel consumption?
I think that was
I think that was a thank you, wasn't it?
I don't think so.
No.
I think that was a bit. Might have been something else before you there, I think, actually. But anyway, that's for them to decide between themselves. I think it's just one of those awkward corners, isn't it? On the way towards the start-finish line there, the Clark curve sort of finishes, and then it's not really quite as straight that it goes onto. It sort of continues to curve round, and the idea is as to where the slower and faster class should be, and not really quite conformed, and so there's a bit of a disagreement there. Thankfully it didn't cause an accident, but anyway, Ryan Ward is through that now. 25 minutes gone just about, and we are not too far away from pit stops, although as I mentioned earlier, we should see a bigger window for those stops today than what we saw at Spa, where everybody was a little bit worried about making it, to be honest. I think we even saw a couple of splash and dashes, which wasn't ideal, especially with such a long pit lane. But we're not going to be seeing that round here in any case. Even if it was round here, it wouldn't be so damaging because Brands Hatch does not have the longest pit lane of the season by any means. Oh my word, that was close. As Luciano Bittler tried to get through on Ryan Ward there, he very nearly put them both in the wall, them being him and another GT4 car he was passing.
Jack Southfield right on the rear bumper there of Whitfoot's Porsche. I think he's almost given a little bump along the Brabham straight as they get up the hill towards Druids. Now he's going to try and go around the outside, and he's on the quarter panel. Oh, lucky not to turn Whitfoot round there. This is aggressive.
It is. Do you see him being aggressive on the way to the Clark curve as well? As he just tried to force himself down the inside. He was almost driving down the grass, and he had his arms and elbows out trying to save the car on the way to the final turn there. There was aggression, but in some ways it feels like around here, if you want to make passes, you can't be sort of passive and non-aggressive. You've got to be on the front foot and driving for these moves. And so Jack Southfield almost didn't have any other choice than to force his car down the outside there. There's just this fine balance into being aggressive, I should say, and overly exuberant and putting himself in the wall by driving down the grass too much.
This is... What on earth is going on there?
Two teammates, indeed, who are driving into each other.
It's like two puppies in a litter fighting with one another.
Yeah, Tom Weston and Andy Jones, was it? Yeah, it was. And they were driving into one another there through turn 3. I mean, admittedly, you don't want to fall into a kerfuffle with your teammate, but surely the aftermath is not required.
Yeah, I think rolling about in the gravel with your teammate afterwards definitely not advised. It's even less advisable than taking your teammate off in the first place. Wow, I have to say that's a first for me.
Yeah, might need a new first rule of motorsport actually. Don't roll around in the gravel with your teammate afterwards. Second rule can be don't hit him. There we go. Dear me, that's very odd. Tom Weston spins around then, and Andy Jones doesn't really have anywhere to go. And then what's all this about? Are they both no, it doesn't look quite. It's not quite as bad as it looked. It's nowhere near as bad as it looked. I think they both on full lock trying to get out of the grass there, but there isn't much lock, and so they've both tried to go at the same time, and they've just quite clumsily nosed each other there.
Yeah, I don't think either driver's come off looking very good out of that one. Anyway. That's an interesting one. Luciano Whitfoot now. It's still. So here goes. Round goes Tom Weston. He's looked at his teammate and said, "Oh, you're in the gravel as well. Oh, I'll go back."
So he is trying to.
But he's like, "Wait, what are you doing?"
Well, now he's not. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. What's he doing here? He's in the throttle there, going, "No, move. You move back." Oh dear.
Never advisable to get your teammate to reverse down the racetrack, to be fair. So I think I'm with Jones on that one. But there we go. What a bizarre moment. That's going to be one for the memory bank, if you like.
You know how I said anything can happen? That I was not.
No, you weren't thinking about that.
That was not what I meant, but I guess anything can happen.
But it doesn't disprove the point that that anything can happen around here. Although I'm not willing to go out and say that that's because Brands Hatch that happened. But anyway, that's not.
Oh, slow down penalty for Whitfoot.
Yeah, looks like it, and he's cost him 2, maybe 3 places. Keeps Stewart down the inside. Wasn't quite assertive enough there through Hawthorns, and so can't get through quite either. It's relatively difficult to pick up slowdowns around here because of the track limit policing that we were talking about earlier on, but you can do it, and Whitfoot has paid the price, and a heavy one for that.
Well, yeah, that was a heavy price, and for Jack Southfield, it might just cool things down in the cockpit a little bit. As here goes, is that another slowdown? I think it might be.
Or is it something else?
Is he out of fuel? Is he? No, he's kept going.
Power?
I think he's got 2 slowdowns in a row there, because you can get one for cutting over at Sheens. So I think he's maybe cut the corner at Sheens as well.
I'm not convinced he's at full power at the moment, as Ryan Ward gets in, by the way.
Yeah, that's more than a slowdown, you're right.
What is happening here? It was the front straight that really put that into my mind, because I agree, you can get them at Sheen as well, but here goes another driver down the inside for 7th place this time. It's Jordan Pierce, by the way. Is it? Oh no, it's George Streetley, excuse me. Jordan Pierce a bit further back. Yeah, look at the pace down the straight here. Does he have full speed? No.
Is he worried about fuel?
No. I mean,
I think he's maybe trying to make sure he gets to the hour so that he can then fill the car up and not have to pit again. Whereas Ryan Ward's come in, he might have to be fuel saving throughout that hour, but it's giving away so much time there.
Surely that fuel saving along that hour is better than losing heaps and heaps of time on these last 2 laps.
Yeah, agree. Bizarre. Another bizarre one.
Some bizarre things are happening today. 2nd place battle is now being won by Jack Southfield, by the way, in a bizarre change of events. We don't have that chicane on the way into pit lane here, and so they're just driving themselves straight in with Gar Valero in tow. Keith Stewart afterwards, then George Streetley, then Luciano Vivet, who definitely had a few now, but whether that was the cause of his problems earlier on, we'll wait and see. Richard Jett is also up on the jacks, getting his front end repaired, and he really needs it. Out of the pit lane goes another one of the GT3 Porsches, and so do the teammates who got a bit too close for comfort, to be honest, out of the 3rd corner a few moments ago. Who makes it out here first? Is it going to be Southfield, who drops on the floor first, excuse me, but does he roll ahead of Valero, who he came in with? Still no movement from Jack Southfield, who of course will be taking on a pretty much full service stop. Don't forget, these drivers will have almost run this tank dry now, even despite the lack of time in this race. Southfield goes, Valero goes, and he's just about out in front. Valero should be in 2nd place here, as long as the in-lap was good, and it looks like it was. Here goes Ryan Ward through the front straight, immediately defended by Jack Southfield. Gal Valero will be through, and he will be in 2nd place. Oh!
He's just drilled him off the road. He's just drilled him off the road.
And Jack Southfield is going to have to spin himself all the long way around to get himself back onto the circuit at turn 2. That's a real shame for him after a great start to this race. And all of a sudden, that has gone out of the window immediately.
Yeah, that's a shame. He was fighting hard, firm but fair, right up to the line, I would say. And then, just gets ploughed out the way. Look at this. I know, I take that back. That's far too much moving on the braking zone. Apologies. Yeah, you move that much on the braking, you live by the sword, you die by the sword.
It's difficult to see quite the interaction. I want to kind of see where the overlap sort of started, if you like it. Although I suppose it doesn't entirely matter when you're moving in pit lane. That's totally different. In the braking zone, excuse me. And well, it certainly puts Southfield a long way back. Another GT3 Porsche low on speed here. Johnny Elliott is on an outlap at the moment, and he's just been passed. He's still leading in AM and looks like he's on his way to a title there. Let's see what happened here. Yeah, well, that's a difficult one to call there, because I feel even if there wasn't any movement from Southfield, then it's quite a late move from Ward to be making down the inside, down a very small gap. So that's a difficult one to call.
Yeah, it is strange. I mean, I think if you're moving a lot around in a braking zone, you're asking for it. I think you're asking for trouble. You're asking for contact. And yeah, that was just what happened there. But anyway, GT4 pit stops underway. Interestingly, a few deciding, they're just taking tyres there. Fuel on board, fuel still going in. So you got plenty of time to get the tyres on. Ages
in the box.
Yeah, loads. Yeah.
For over 50 seconds, and then Matthew, well, say ages. It's only about 20% longer than GT3, I suppose, but that's still quite a long time. 25% even. Chris will get out in the lead. Where does Kieran Sharp get out? Because Richard Simner is nowhere to be seen, and that's because I thought he'd stopped. Well, he clearly has, but why has it taken so long? And have we just seen the key moment in this championship in GT4 Pro play itself out? A 93.5-second stop for Richard Simner may well have just sealed this championship.
And that, to me, sounds like a speeding penalty in pit lane. Oh, no. Oh, at Brands Hatch as well. It's not exactly a fast pit entry, is it? Oh, dear.
Well, it doesn't have that chicane, which means that you are more liable to speeding, I feel, than you would be otherwise when we sometimes implement that. However, there is no excuses for it. Everybody knows the speed limit and everybody knows where the line is, and it's quite an under-practiced part of sim racing, I would argue. But there we go. Simner, with a 93-second stop, will have a lot of recovering to do. Don't forget, he needs to beat Kieran Sharp today to win the title, and Kieran Sharp needs to beat him to beat the title. It is that simple.
Well, that's an absolute disaster for Simner, and that will sting. That will keep him awake tonight, you can be sure, unless he's able to get the better of Kieran Sharp, but he's just left himself a whole load of work to do. 40 seconds is just a massive penalty, and it's effectively equivalent to, in fact, I would say it's almost as, in terms of pit lane transit time, you're a 16-second pit lane transit time, so yeah.
Indicates speeding to you? I mean,
it's tight anyway, but clearly that's the only thing you would get, that 40-second, or either that or he's gone over it's an unsafe pit entry, he's gone over the blend line. That could be the other one. But it's effectively like 3 drive-through penalties. That's how fierce it is.
Yeah, I feel like either of those are plausible guesses, actually, having watched that pit entry. He was over that white line, which I don't know if you're punished for. Sometimes you are. And the speed looked quite high as well, because what you generally do is you actually do excuse me, you do actually enter a kilometre or 2 faster than the limit, because you can get away with it as long as you slow down sort of immediately. You get, it's sort of not an unwritten rule, but it's sort of it's not even a trick either, because it's a real world thing as well. There is the line. Is that what has given Simner the long stop? Because he looks like he looks like he's doing the trick of entering it slightly higher than the speed and then bringing yourself back to it, which does mean that you avoid a penalty if you do it right, and you can gain maybe a tenth, or maybe less. But that's where the fine margins are in this in sim racing, really. Is it that pit entry? Because I didn't watch any of the others particularly looking out for that. Is he the only one to have done that? And if so, then maybe we have our answer.
Well, if anyone from the team can let us know in the either in the YouTube chat or via the Discord server, that would be very much appreciated. And that would be such a pity for the championship to be decided on that.
No.
What's
going on there? Is that Nuno Costa again?
What is there in the water in Kent?
I've never been.
Have you never been to Kent? Lovely county, very nice.
It's just a very long way away. So that's for you.
Yeah, no, it's not. I used to play in a golf competition in Deal Sandwich.
What was that all about?
That was really weird.
Excuse me, I've been getting them mixed up all season, and it's still happening. Marcus Silver, excuse me. He just seemed to turn left there, and I don't see quite why.
Very odd. Very odd. It was about as successful as that golf tournament I played in. The drive home was long.
Oh dear.
Back to Scotland. Knocked out in the first round. 600 miles home. Thanks for coming.
600? Oh, 600. Yeah. Sorry, I heard that as 60 for some reason. That's.
I wish that would have been nice.
That's not correct.
So there's Matthew Crisp. That's I believe that's a demonstration of how to do it.
Yes, and we've had word in a third opinion from a YouTube chatter that it could well be the blend line as well. There's Kieran Sharp, second, doesn't infringe the blend line. So I think we have our answer. which I didn't know was quite so strict in iRacing. I always thought the rules for pit entering and pit exiting were fairly loose in iRacing, maybe a little bit too loose sometimes, but actually they're right up to the money and right as strict as they should be, actually. But just unfortunate for Richard Simner and unfortunate for the neutral, I suppose, that it's taken away such a fight from us.
And that VAR replay was brought to you by McDonald's of Grenau.
You go, McDonald's camera. We'll start to go on. He's not careful. Anyway, yes, let's go back to GT3 again, where Luciano Viva is ahead of George Strait. It's got very gloomy all of a sudden, hasn't it? No threat of rain in the Asetek SimSports GT Challenge, so no need to worry about that, despite the Britishness of this circuit. It's all of a sudden got very gloomy. Excuse me, George Strait is not quite there. It's Keith Stewart. He's trying to overtake here, isn't it, Luciano Viva, for 4th place, and all of a sudden he seems a bit revitalised after that pit stop, and I'm still at a loss as to quite why his speed was so low on his in-laps at multiple.
So Tim Fulbrook, hello Tim, from Only Endurance. If you haven't already, follow them on social media, and particularly on Instagram. It's a great follow if you're a fan of GT racing, which if you're watching this, I presume you are. He says there is nothing wrong with the water in the Kent. There is nothing wrong with water in Kent.
In the Kent?
In the Kent.
That could have gone wrong quite easily, actually.
The Kent. That, yeah, very badly. YouTube auto subtitles going to have fun with that one.
We could have had our entire plugs pulled out there.
Oh, God.
But there we go. Yeah, I wouldn't know. But there we go.
Yeah, that would be a whole bathtub of Kent water just down the drain.
Oh, dear.
Oh, dear, indeed.
On board with Luciano Viva as the steady stream of traffic now is passing them by. Got to that stage in the race now where it's not clumps and it's not a lap or two, it's just a constant now for these leaders especially. Speaking of GT4s, by the way, just to update you, we've already spoken about the pro battle at length. Richard Simner is now 8th overall, by the way, but Nathan Tighe, he's leading now in the Anfield. He's got ahead of Ollie Ettridge, but he's only 1 position ahead. He needs Ollie Ettridge to finish outside of the top 8, and at the moment that's going to be very difficult indeed to do. I think there's only 8 remaining in the field because Jake Pitt has retired from the race. So as we go further and further on with this race, it looks like Oliver Ettridge is going to win the season. However, a race win would be nice to end up the season for anybody else. Nathan Tighe, as Nick Dealey goes for a spin through the penultimate corner.
Does just about manage to avoid the wall, importantly, there for Nick Dealey. So Gael Valero now in second. He's managed to pull nearly a couple of seconds out of Ryan Ward, but Remy Gilbert 11.6 seconds down the road as well. The Falcon coloured Aston Martin off into the gravel. That's one way of letting people through.
Does look rather Falcon actually, but unfortunately not necessarily in the gravel. What is Marco Silva doing without a front wing? Rear wing rather. He is trying to find the back entrance to the pit lane, and he's not, so he's gone back the normal way by towing. Now, is that the continuation of the previous incident, or has he had another one? Because he has used his fast repair today. I slightly fear that he did use that and then crashed again not long afterwards, but we'll get to the bottom of that. I suspect maybe not, but you never know. That is a possibility. After all, there is a danger sometimes in iRacing as well that you accidentally use your fast repair. Now, I'm not sure whether these drivers accidentally used it or whether they just wanted to because they realised this is going to be the only stop. But Gael Valero and Ryan Ward both used fast repairs, as did Chico Leventhal in that first round and only round of stops. However, they didn't have any notable contact. And if you're not careful in iRacing, if you leave your fast repair ticked, even if you don't have any damage, it will still repair your car for you. So you've got to be careful to save it if you're not intending to use it. And in my experience anyway, I don't know whether this is just me, but it always seems to be ticked as standard, which I've never quite worked out why. Yeah,
plenty have fallen afoul over that. Over the years, here comes Luciano Whitfoot on Keith Stewart. Up the inside he goes. And gets it done. Up into 4th position there for Whitvet. Inter-Porsche battle here. Whitvet in the very patriotic Flying Tangerine.
Yes. This is James Smiger's girl, and he was picking himself out the gravel when we saw him last. Oh, and he got... Oh, I thought he got smacked there by the Aston Martin. In fact, that Aston Martin got the damage beforehand. So, not sure where that came, but James Smiger's girl was the one who went for the big slide through the fast corners at the back of the Grand Prix circuit, you could call them. That was Westfield Bend in particular. Preceded by Hawthorns and whatever the opposite of that is, in Sheen Curve. There's also a very fast right-hander at the other end of the circuit. Just less than 45 minutes to go now in the Asetek SimSports GT Challenge season, and it's looking like most of the championships are settled. In GT3 Pro, the leader is leading the race. Remy Gilbert is out in front by over 12 seconds now, and he was the championship leader heading into the day. Same story in AM in GT3, as Johnny Elliott is still out front there, ahead of Chico Leventhal by over 20 seconds in GT3 AM. In GT4 Pro, Matthew Crisp is under pressure for that race lead, but he won't be winning the title. He's nowhere near and can't mathematically do so. It's going to be Kieran Sharp who's in 2nd place just behind, as long as he can stay ahead of Richard Simler, who is now more than 40 seconds behind as a result of a hefty penalty for crossing the blend line on the way into pit lane. And Nathan Targe's win is not going to gain back quite enough points over Oliver Ettridge, who's won enough so far this season for the 6 points he's losing right now to be not enough for Nathan Targe to take that over. And so it looks like we're going to have all championship leaders take their titles by the end of the day. But we still have to work out who is going to be the overall champion with regards to picking up the most points, because that does mean prizes as well. And that's not often, well, not at all, something you can do anything about, because normally in a championship fight you've got rivals, they're in your class, and you try and overtake them and beat them to win. Effectively, it's as simple as that. When it's an overall championship like this series, and we see it in the NLS in the real world as well, when you're fighting for the overall title, if you like, that not a lot you can do about what other people are doing in other classes.
No, you just gotta get on and do your best job and try and execute, and not get any, pick up excessive numbers of incident points, end up yourself with a drive-through penalty or something like that. You really got to just try and get it to the end now. But 42 minutes around here. We're only just at half race distance, remember. I've just gone past it. And it's 42 minutes around here to get it to the end, especially when you've got a championship on the line. It's going to be a long 42 minutes.
It is indeed. So, at the moment, with Oliver Richards actually 3rd in GT4 Pro, and as long as he stays there, then Remy Gilbert will be the overall champion. However, meanwhile, this is Ryan Ward, by the way, with aggression. Oh, wow. That I hardly have words for, actually, out on the Grand Prix circuit. He almost went down the grass entirely, but there you go, he's made his way through. So it's between Oliver Ettridge and Remy Gilbert for the overall title, by the way, and at the moment Gilbert would have it by very few points, actually, just 5 points, because Oliver Ettridge has won all 3 races so far, but he's going to finish 3rd at the moment. If things stay as they are, Gilbert would have 3 wins, but 1 2nd place, which will be the difference. Now, if Oliver Ettridge gets into 2nd place, then I'm not entirely sure what happens, because they've all had the same results from start to finish. So there's nothing to count back on, and there's no points for fastest lap or anything in this series, or pole position. So I'm not sure what they would decide the champion on after that point. So we'll have to wait and see if Ettridge gets into 2nd. That's the bare minimum he needs to still be in that conversation for the overall title.
So we'll hopefully not have to get the calculators out. We'll see. 41 minutes on the clock. Remy Gilbert's lead continuing to grow, 14 seconds now to his teammate, to his championship rival, Gael Valero, who at the moment is looking at 2nd place in the race and looking to be like it's going to be 2nd place in the championship if things finish as they are. Meanwhile, Johnny Elia under big pressure here now, but it's not for a class position though. Johnny Healy leading in the AM class in the 111 Porsche, but he's got Jordan Pierce right behind him, who's running in the pro class.
He is indeed. Have got the countback rules in front of me, by the way. If the results are all the same for the both of them, then it's just selected at random. So I suppose that's better than not being in with a shot at all. But I suppose I don't know what there is to separate them on at that point, really. They're not in the same class or anything. They've got exactly the same results. I'm not sure what else you can look to.
Maybe qualifying head-to-heads, maybe?
I don't know, judging by this season, I think they'll have the same of that too.
Yeah. It's certainly been close, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's difficult to tell. Anyway, we'll worry about that a little bit later on, because at the moment they're not even in that position. Jordan Pierce is looking for his way through to 7th, and, well, he's not going to be able to do it here. Already 2 wide ahead of him. That's not going to be a particularly good idea to make it 3 wide, and so we'll just get past, and he'll have to give a bit of space actually into turn 3 as well. So the gap will open up. That's the give and take of traffic over the next few laps or so. Jordan Pierce will have a bit of traffic that he can benefit from as Johnny Elliott gets caught up behind, but for the moment that gap just extends with Pierce getting the bad luck this time.
So the GT4's there. A tricky car to go quickly around Brands Hatch. It's they're carrying relative to their power a little bit more weight around. They feel like a heavy car to kind of hustle around. It's again, with not too much aerodynamic grip, you're relying on the mechanical grip that's there. I always find a very technical car to get it right in. I would say the GT3 actually a little bit more forgiving.
Yeah, I feel that way, to be honest. Just feel like you can get away with a little bit more in that car. Maybe the plantedness is a role in that. The assists are the same, of course, so they're similar in some senses, as we've spoken about in the past. Now, this is Kieran Sharp looking for a way through on Matthew Crisp again. Looks like he is going to be the title winner, does Kieran Sharp here, but is he going to be the race winner as well here? He's not really in the conversation for the overall championship win. Unfortunately, that went out the window at Spa, as there's a GT3 off the road there through the penultimate corner. They both avoided very easily, but that won't be good to see. And another GT3 finds itself in the gravel. I can't imagine it'll be the last one we see.
I think it was the Audi again, off the road. And yeah, I think you're right. It will not be the last one we see. It's Alistair Leckie. Oh, just really got away from him quickly there, coming out of Sterling's. Oh dear.
Oh, careful. And you can see why he reversed himself into the gravel there, because he nearly got hit by 2 cars consecutively, actually. I'm not sure who was driving the GT3, but it was either Janneman Preuss or Stephen Koenig in the 2 McLarens who nearly T-boned him across the road, and that's always a difficult thing at Brands Hatch as well. Lots of blind corners, which means when you're sat in the middle of the road, you're not in a good place.
No, that's really not pleasant at all. But thankfully got that away with that without any too much incident. Thankfully. Oh, it's a sigh of relief there. And a good battle going on for that GT4 lead between Matthew Crisp and Kieran Sharp. Crisp is, the thing is an interesting one for Crisp. He's, back down in 5th. He's really got no championship axe to grind, really, whereas Kieran Sharp does. So does Kieran Sharp want to take the risk, or simply follow Matthew Crisp home? Because for Kieran Sharp, his nearest rival, Simner, he's way down the order after that penalty.
We've had some word in from Andy Jones, by the way, who says he's never picking up the Mercedes again. He doesn't like it, and he is out of the race and out of the season. I mean, it's a very differently behaving car to lots of the other GT3s we have available in this series. Of course, the Porsche has been relatively popular, the Lamborghini especially popular and successful in GT3, BMW and Audi also available. The Mercedes not for everyone, of course, but looks like he's retired from the season. Tom Weston, who he was having an incident with earlier on, is still going here, as you can see on your screen. But there you go. At the end of the season for Andy Jones, unfortunately, and that brings our retirement total to 6 cars now, which is a relatively large number, although not terrible, with 39 starters on the grid here tonight. It's just under 1 in every 6 cars out of the race, so it's not a bad number. But clearly this car and probably the track combination not helping either for some drivers not enjoying themselves tonight.
No, and I think it's the combination of like, having the multi-class traffic as well really makes it difficult to get into a rhythm. And this is a track that suits a car that's kind of agile and really carries big corner speed and feels like it's got good aerodynamic grip, and that's not necessarily the attributes that the Mercedes GT3 carries. It has lots of other good attributes, but here I would say you want to be in I would think the Lamborghini actually is the car to be in. Very, very good handling, very, very good corner speed that it can carry. It's not fantastic in a straight line. The Mercedes would dust it off in the straight line, but cornering wise, the Lamborghini is the car to have, I'd say, around here.
Does seem like that. The low centre of gravity just seems very ideal for this track. This is Nathan Targ in 6th place overall GT3. That's 2nd in class. Mikey Pollard just behind. It's got quite a chase to try and get to Matt Everton here, and Ettridge is only just over 3 seconds behind. Now this is the important battle, if you like, for the final overall winner of the series, the driver with the most points out of everybody in the field. And at the moment it's Rowie Gilbert as we've run, but Oliver Ettridge has got just more than half an hour to find his way past Nathan Targ to get up onto that 2nd position and tie himself with Rowie Gilbert, and then it'll be selected at random to see who wins the prize. But you're better off with a 50-50 chance than no chance at all, which is what he currently has.
So, and yeah, and for you think that for Simner, he's got to just try everything at it. You've got nothing really to lose there, you'd say. Oh, down the inside they go. Oh, great move.
Pollard through. So I think that was Nathan Targ letting him through, really, because you don't score points from a GT3 tree, if you like. You score points from your own class. And so that means that passes not in your class don't really matter. And based on the viewing that we've had at the moment, Mikey Pollard just seemed to be a little bit quicker in than Nathan Targ. But so does Oliver Ettridge. Look at that. The gap's coming down by at least half a second a lap for the last 3.
Yeah, fantastic. Ettridge really on the charge, isn't he? His last few laps, just trying to close off this championship. Although the race hasn't quite gone the way he wanted to, it's looking good so far, and only a couple of seconds away from Targ, which would help to certainly help to put it to bed in style.
This is right behind Richard Simner here, who is on a real road of recovery. As well, speaking of recovering, Alistair Leckie picking himself up the wall. I don't think that Audi's got a front end anymore, has it? No, it hasn't. He has nosed first into the wall during that battle with Tom Weston, as Simner gets through on Nathan Targ, by the way, and he'll be pleased that so many people are stopping overtake him now, especially when it doesn't ideally matter for his race. He can now properly get on with it, but yeah, that was not ideal for the Audi. Wonder whether Tom Weston was involved or whether Alistair Leckie did that on his own out on the Grand Prix circuit.
Well, whatever way you look at it, it's not been a great race for Alistair Leckie, has it? So, and what's happened to Richard Simner now? The 42. He makes a really nice overtaking move there.
Yeah, just a nice move down the inside at turn 4 for him. Less nice viewing for Alistair Leckie, I think. Oh dear, as the Aston Martin's off in the grass again there. Not Kieran Sharp's Aston Martin, you understand, but a different one. The GT3s, or one of them anyway, one of the Porsches works its way through now. doing one at one corner and another at another, but being very non-aggressive here, just staying behind. Maybe a run up towards Dingledale and Sheen Curve. No, there is a danger of that if in a GT3. If you do spend too many corners behind a GT4, then you will get a little bit stuck, especially on the Grand Prix part of the circuit. It does require a degree of aggression when you're lapping slower cars.
Yeah, it's that controlled aggression, isn't it? Just trying to get through decisively, be decisive, but also not too much risk. That's it's a tricky one. Very, very tricky one. Particularly here at Brands Hatch, you actually couldn't pick many more difficult places for. There you go. Well, that's not even multi-class.
No, it wasn't positional either. It was George Streetley getting down the inside. Was that Tom Weston again in the yellow Porsche? It may well have been. He's still in the race in 13th.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, okay. So I think he was just trying to be helpful and get out of the way at turn 3 there, but that is the racing line you're slowing down on it or in danger. Doing so well. Actually, I'll give him a bit more credit than that, actually, because I only caught him as Streetley was hitting him, which wasn't really fair. Streetley was a bit unsighted there, to be honest, and couldn't really do a lot about that, even as helpful as Tom Weston was trying to be.
Yeah, a bit of a misunderstanding, you could say. So, Simner almost looks like he's trying to go around the outside of one of the GT3. Here he is. They get a bit tangled up there with the GT3 car, the BMW.
Yeah, Simner, Pollard there slid through the corner, very nearly stood straight into the side of the BMW. There goes Simner, late on the brakes at turn 3. He's going to get down the inside at least, but the danger he's got now is that he might be on the outside for the next 3 corners, which is not where he wants to be. No, it's not. So he goes in DCW Racing. It's been a fairly eventful day for them, and a little bit of infighting here between the teammates as they get through, but they do go through Westfield. Oh my word. Simner goes around. He's tapped round by Nathan Targ, who's really trying to get on with this because he knows that Oliver Ettridge is right behind, and now Simner's got the unenviable task of getting back going again from a blind crest at Dingledale. Careful reversing, and he has been, so he'll get back going again as well, but Simner has just not had his day.
No, not good at all. Not good at all. It was right there in the fight too, and it's just all. And really, to me, that started off by getting he got run wide by his teammate there. He got run onto the paint by his own teammate. That just checked him up a little bit, and that caught Tag out, and round they went. Yeah, that doesn't help. I do feel like Tag ran him over a bit there, to be honest. But anyway, that's. I think he did a little bit. I don't think he expected Simner to get run out onto that slippy AstroTurf, that kind of fake grass on the outside, which definitely checked. In fact, he had a wheel on the actual grass there, which checked him up. Yeah, that's. I tell you what, not a great deal of coordination between DCW Racing, is there?
No, not. Oh dear, not a lot of coordination there either. Oliver Ettridge gets into the side of Nathan Targ, who's the one who goes around this time. So from the enforcer to the unfortunate there for Nathan Targ, he's now 7th in GT4, he's 3rd in class, but he's without a rear wing. So how much damage has there really been there? It's not the biggest rear wing in the world. There is Ettridge down the inside. I can't help but feel he was alongside there into Hawthorne.
Yeah, and that, a lot of incidents, a lot of contact here, more than you'd like to see, to be honest. With after an hour and 20 minutes of racing, it's becoming quite hazy here at Brands Hatch. It's almost like slightly foggy.
Yeah, I've noticed that today. But it wasn't especially present early on. There's the contact again. Ettridge now, well, he is in that 2nd place, but will that stand after the race is my question. If there's a steward's decision that will more regularly take penalty points away from him, actually, rather than actually enforce a time penalty during a race. But that's just the same. Well, it's probably worse for Ettridge, actually, because that means he'll definitely lose that overall championship. Maybe Remy Gilbert is going to be overall champion anyway. However, as I say, I feel like Ettridge was alongside there and Tug didn't give him the room, or maybe wasn't expecting Ettridge to be so committed in making a move. He's alongside, a long way into the corner. As they get to the bottom of the course, he is right alongside. The wheels are alongside anyway. And he's on the very inside of the corner as well. He's not drifting out towards Tug. Don't really see where Ettridge could have gone.
Yeah, who would want to be a race steward? Whoa, big moment there. First that tag again. Yes. Oh dear, he's clearly not got the grip he expected.
Here's Cinder again. Or was that Tom Weston? Oh, excuse me, it's GT3. It's Tom Weston who will make his way through. But there you go. Some very similarly livery Porsches going on through these final corners here. So that's not a surprise to see Mikey Pollard go through, especially. I wouldn't be surprised if Simner is here soon either. Although Richard Simner has gone back to the pit lane now, actually, and may well have retired from the race and retired from the season as well. It may not even be second in the championship here for him today, but it doesn't even really matter. Anything other than a win in your class is not prize-worthy, if you like. You don't get any prizes for it, and sometimes you just get the feeling that it's not your day in motorsport, and Simner will have certainly been getting that feeling from this race.
Yeah, definitely not his day at all. That is an absolute nightmare day for Simner, unfortunately, starting off with that penalty. I mean, it was really done after that penalty, you have to say. And this will mean that Kieran Sharp, well, effectively Kieran Sharp can have a go at the race win here, because he's kind of home and dry now. Can have a go on Matthew Crisp. He's been following him around. The question is, will there be someone on the radio to Kieran Sharp saying, yeah, Simner's out, have a go?
Yeah, exactly. So it really doesn't matter for Kieran Sharp now. He was the one leading at the start. It doesn't really matter if he DNFs at this point. He's completed enough laps and he will still be ahead of Simner, but he won't want to do that. He wants to go for the win. And now we get into those final 25 minutes when these battles really do matter. I mean, when you're so evenly matched like this, it's almost like there's no point in trying to make an overtake, because you know that it's just going to be a close race to the finish, so you might as well leave it late, and that's what Sharp has done here. Now we get to the stage now where we are beginning to wonder, well, where do I actually make this move? Because you start to realise at Brands Hatch there's not many big braking zones, there's not many long straights, and there's not many of those traditional chances that you might get at, in fact, all of the other circuits we've had so far this season.
Yeah, there's just the overtaking opportunities are definitely harder to come by, harder to get move done cleanly. I'd say into Druids would be one, up into the hairpin, because you can even try and go round the outside, and that gives you then the inside for the left-hander of Graham Hill Bend, and Sharp now starting to lay the pressure on the Mercedes and Matthew Crisp. Yeah,
certainly is. Through the third corner they go, looking for maybe a good run out of turn 4. The Grand Prix circuit is surprisingly a good place to make moves if you are good enough, and Sharp on certain laps anyway showing himself to be good enough. I feel like the 2 laps in either side of that half-second gain are sort of irrelevant, because if he's following especially that most recent lap, if he's following Crisp, then just how much quicker can he go if there's a big Mercedes right in his way? I mean, it's very difficult to do anything about that. But the advantage here in this race is that he'll have a lot of traffic coming through, lots of GT3 traffic pushing the GT4s wide, and that will inevitably give Sharp at least one chance before the end of the race.
Well, at 21 minutes to go, it's certainly got enough time in hand as Sharp as, and you never know if something, you just need Matthew Crisp to get sat up by some traffic coming through, and all of a sudden Sharp's got an opportunity, but they just got separated a little with that Ferrari coming through. That just a couple of car lengths in the favour of Matthew Crisp there.
But it will give and take again. Sharp will be the one who gains soon, although not there. He gets dived by one of the Audis again down the inside at turn 2. That's Ryan Ward who's going to try and come through as well here, along with, is that Ryan Ward maybe? Well, it looked like his car, but maybe not, as we go back to the third place battle overall in GT4. Richard Jett has done really well to recover from having a really crumpled front end in the first stint. He is now fully fledged and with all of his parts still on his car, trying to overtake Matt Cheverton, who will really want to win in AM, so I'd be surprised if he fights for the overall podium, but he is doing. Jett goes down the inside, muscles his way through really, rather than makes his way through, and Cheverton's not pleased about it.
No, not at all. Not at all. The universal sign of displeasure there. Now what's happened again to... Oh, Nathan Taggart's got on the... Oh, how many people have we seen make that mistake? Wheel on the grass, coming down into Stirling's, and round they go.
That's Castles here in the blue and black, not any of the others. There's plenty of them in the field. He's just passed Chico Leventar now for 11th place, and just up in front of him is not a pass 4 position, although I still believe it is Ryan Ward who's right ahead, because he is a lap down, is Anthony Castles after his spin at Sheen Curb earlier, where he hit the wall pretty hard and would have had to soldier on later on in that stint there to get to the pit stop phase, which is what he ended up doing. Trying to say this Lamborghini, it's not very clear to me which one it is, but it seems to be Ryan. Oh no, maybe it isn't Ryan Ward. Maybe it's the race leader actually. He's just been lapped by Robbie Gilbert, it looks like, who is still leading the field pretty comfortably ahead of Garvalera, despite being reeled in over the course of this stint and to the tune of 1.3 seconds on that last lap. The same is true of the GT4 overall leader. Matthew Crisp still under a lot of pressure, but the danger Sharp has here is that he spent so long behind Crisp, is that the leading driver has very much got used to him being there, and so nothing Sharp can do now surely is a surprise.
Well, you never know. You never know what he's got up his sleeve here. It's Sharp all over the back of Crisp here, has been for several laps, but yeah, just trying to figure out where is the opportunity. Quite similar cars here too. There's not much to be separated there. 4-litre twin turbocharged V8s. In fact, it's pretty much the same engine shared across the two cars.
Good evening, by the way, to RaceSpot's Ryan Walker, who he's let us know he's tuned in this evening, along with Richard Simler now, actually, who is also chatting along instead of racing, which is sad to see. Says he felt in the car that he didn't actually cut the line, but didn't know how close he was realistically from inside the car, and that is sometimes a problem when you're in one of these cars. Your view isn't quite as good as it is when we get to look at these things, for example, from off-board, and so it's very easy for us to see that the line was crossed or not crossed, but when you're in the car it is different, and it's not abnormal for you to feel like you haven't cut the line and haven't done anything wrong, when in reality, looking at the off-board, you might realise later that was the case.
Such a pity for it to go away like that, but yeah, if you're over, you're over. That's it. Tell you what, Kieran Sharp really starting to put the pressure on now, and the Aston Martin channeling his inner Johnny Adam here.
Yes. Trying to find his way through into the lead. Kieran Sharp on board with him at the moment. Great view as to the rises and falls of Brands Hatch, and one of the best sounding GT4s in my opinion anyway. It's a fantastic car, the Aston Martin, and maybe even GT4 traffic, which is rare for these two. Well, maybe that can present the opportunity that Kieran Sharp has been waiting for. Nick Dealey, I think, is the BMW just in behind them, and he's had an eventful race so far today. Down in 18th at the moment, 3 laps down on the leader, but at least he's still in the race. More than can be said for some drivers here today, but can hardly blame them. It is the last race of the season Here goes Sharp in the slipstream again, but Crisp's so confident that I've not seen him take a defensive line yet. And this is the problem for Sharp too. As I said earlier on, Crisp is so comfortable with him being there, he doesn't even notice almost, and he's just running his own race, which is exactly what you have to do.
Yeah, it's quite impressive to be able to do that time and time again, just clicking off those laps despite being under such pressure. But through they come then round the long corner curve, tricky corner in a GT4, I'd say, to manage the car through there. And with this slightly bizarre, hazy late afternoon here in Brands Hatch, it's the lights twinkling through the gloaming there.
Yeah, it is odd, isn't it? But I think it's about 5 p.m. in Sim. We started about coming up to 3:30 in Sim, so maybe it's just past 4:30 now in Sim. Admittedly, it is springtime, so it's not, it's not the dark days, as it were. It would already be dark very nearly, but it's the middle of May. It is just about sort of 4:45, we'll call it, 5 o'clock, by the time we get to the end of the race. And it is odd weather conditions, relatively strong winds, but not terrible, and cool track temperatures as well. It's very very rare, I should say, in the UK that you get unbearable track conditions in terms of running out of tyres, and that's just as well at Brands Hatch because it's such a high load circuit anyway that if we did get some very warm and tropical conditions in the UK, I think people would very much struggle to get their tyres through a race at Brands Hatch.
They would, yeah. Well, we've seen that in the past here at Brands Hatch in the British Touring Car Championship, where if you get excessively warm weather compared to what you're testing in or what you've had in the past, it is very, very common to see punctures here with just the tyre just completely overheating. You hit a curb and both off it goes. So yeah, you really are putting the tyre through immense stress.
Yeah, but equally it's so changeable, isn't it? Because 6 months earlier or later than this race, and we would have been running right now in the darkness, because it would be 4:45 and the clocks would have gone back and and it would have been nighttime driving to the end of the race. But no nighttime driving this season. We've had a fully, well, if you can call this a clear and light race, then we'll go with it. It's a fully clear and light season as well. No rain, of course, as we knew at the start of the season, but no darkness either for the Asetek SimSports GT Challenge here this season. And that's probably a good thing for everybody. Just over 12.5 minutes remaining of the season, and Sharp is still following Matthew Crisp as close as he possibly can. Other battles that are going out on the circuit are few and far between. There's maybe a group battling in and developing in GT3 as Mike Barber is caught by Adam Locke and Anthony Catsels. Two of those drivers will take the final 2 spots inside the top 10 here in GT3. But other than that, this leading battle in GT4 is what we've got to work with, and Sharp has got to start making some kind of impression, because so far I don't think he's even had an overlap with Matthew Crisp.
No, he's just hung on to it so well, hasn't he? It's been a real masterclass in not even defensive driving, just in just not snapping under the pressure. So under 12 minutes to go, what can Sharp do to what can he do? Or is he aware that Simner's out? Maybe he's not. Maybe he's thinking, I've got to just stroke this one home.
Yeah. Well, it's not entirely impossible that that's about 3 to a negative there. It is possible, I should say, to think that Sharp is on his own in the race in terms of he's not chatting to anybody, and so he may not know where Simner is, as you say. Although saying that, I was about to counter my own point by saying that, well, if he knows that Crisp is ahead of him, then he knows that Leeson Simner's not ahead of him. Well, that's true, but it doesn't need to be at the moment. He might be thinking, as you say, if he goes for a crash, then what's going to happen to my championship win? Well, maybe he doesn't quite realise that he could bin it and still win the title from here. Of course, he'll still want to finish the race and have that glory of crossing the line, because it's a fantastic moment, but surely he'll want to win as well. I can't believe he'll just trail Crisp the whole way home.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I wonder what's going through the mind right now. I mean, he's certainly getting close. I wonder if it'll maybe be just a little exchange through traffic that might be the only difference here.
Yeah, maybe. Well, this traffic is going to have to come a bit thicker and faster for Sharp if he's going to find his way past. Maybe in terms of GT4s as well. It's another one of those Porsches just up in front. This is the battle for 10th I was talking about earlier on. Well, Adam Lock's no longer going to be involved in it, because he's gone for a spin and he's been passed by two, both for Anthony Castles, who looks like he will finish 10th, and Chico Leventot, who maybe looks there for the taking, but that's not going to do Adam Lock any good there. I think he just turned in a little bit on the GT4, to be honest. Well, it's over the top and through the Grand Prix circuit again for the two leaders in GT4. Sharp still as close as he's ever been. Quarter of a second at any other circuit is close enough to make something happen, but just from this distance it's just not possible here at Brands Hatch. Through the final corner, one of those turns where you really need a run. Seems that Crisp is just fast enough in all the right areas.
Yeah, seems like it. Seems like it. Sharp did have a good look there, didn't he? Coming up towards Sheens, but couldn't quite make it done. This is great defensive. Well, yeah, just such strong driving from Chris, but Sharp's going to really make him work for it. I get the feeling here, Ewan, that I don't. You're right. I don't think Sharp's wanted to settle for this somehow.
No, not especially. Although, what is he doing to? It's all well and good having that mindset, but what is he actually doing to try and win here? It's maybe that's a good run out of turn 4, but once again he's not showing the nose anyway. He's not weaving around in the mirrors at all. He's just deadlocked in behind, benefiting from the slipstream of the Mercedes, and just can't do anything. And the problem when you're the trailing car as well is that the GT3's all past you first, so when there's a GT3 trying to find its way through on the driver in front of you, you're not often right on the bumper there to try and follow through in the slower car, so that makes it very tricky. Let's see what he can do though with this Audi about to come through.
Yeah, that's good. Well, the Audi could make a move here coming down towards Clarker, but Noah stays behind. Might have to be on the Brabham straight, curving around there. The two GT4s, they go to the... Oh, interesting. Sharp to the inside line, and round the outside has to go the Audi. And has that just upset Crisp's rhythm? And here comes Sharp now. He's going to get on the power that little bit early. Here comes a run.
Is there going to be a sufficient run though? It's looking like, once again, Crisp has got the power required to get himself into turn 2 first and stay ahead. That Mercedes seemingly very good on torque and out of the corners. On board we go with Sharp now to really understand what these two cars are doing behaviour-wise and see if we can get any clues as to where Sharp is going to find his way through. It's really these corner exits he absolutely needs, because then you can get the slipstream, then you've got the overall speed anyway if you're starting out at a higher speed, and then you can try and work your way through. But Sharp doesn't quite seem to be getting the traction off the corners that he requires. Wide goes Crisp, and for the first time he's forced defensive, but even at that distance, he doesn't take a defensive line.
Fantastic stuff here. Great racing in the GT4s. So close for this win, and it's really all playing for keeps. Kieran Sharp's got the championship in his pocket now after Simner's demise, and he can go for this one. He's definitely not going to cruise home. He's going to try and take this win and win this championship in style.
It's seemingly increasingly likely that he doesn't want to do anything too outrageous to try and get it though. He's a couple of tenths behind now. Is he going to dive at turn 1? it would be an audacious one. He's immediately pulling to the racing line here. Maybe that's what's giving Crisp so much confidence to pull into the racing line here. Exit off of turn 2 required here for Sharp, and again there was maybe an avenue to go down the inside there, but couldn't do it. Bit deep into the corner for Crisp, and Sharp again will just fall into that rhythm of following the Mercedes, almost as if his cherry tip depends on it. It certainly doesn't. He can go for this, but I think increasingly with every lap that goes past here, he's electing not to.
So he's definitely, I think he's not wanting to do anything wild, or certainly not to the last lap, but definitely making his presence known as Kieran Sharp here. 5.5 minutes to go at Brands Hatch, and the thing is, they are absolutely, I mean, they're a postcode ahead of Richard Jett in third, who's 38 seconds further back. Amazing.
Well, exactly. I mean, he could even have a crash and still finish second, even if the championship was still in play. I really don't understand why he's not going for it. Or maybe I'm looking at it through the neutral lens, where we really want to see a fight at every opportunity. And obviously, that's not always the racer's mind. Sometimes it's just a ideal situation that you'd rather keep. But 0.4 of a second now the margin. Just under 5 minutes to go. We'll try and see how many laps are remaining in the race as Remy Gilbert continues to lead out front. He did go through a period of losing time to Gal Valero. The gap was as small as 11 or 12 seconds at one time, but even that was never a threat. And he's been able to extend that out even further now to 14.5 seconds. It looks like at least one of the championship winners is going to sign off in style. And in fact, he's going to be one of only two to win, but also win the championship.
Sharp now just getting quite close on the brakes there into Surtees, and yeah, couldn't quite get close enough. As Crisp just holding off as much as he needs to as they head up towards Hawthorne. And they're so evenly matched. It's just two quite similar cars, both front engine V8 turbocharged, so they don't necessarily make their lap time in different ways. So understandably then they're going to be fairly evenly matched on track and not able to kind of line up a pass in certain places.
A couple of battles developed in GT3, by the way. Mike Barber has been caught now by Anthony Castles for 9th place, and that's very close. Here are those two. And then Chico Leventhal is being caught by Adam Locke. It may well develop just after this one completes. We may well have a couple to end out the season with here in these increasingly foggy/hazy conditions, gloomy almost overhead. It is the Mike Barber car in front, the Lamborghini versus the Porsche, with Anthony Castles looking for his way through. The traction not fantastic from the Porsche that time around. Can drag on sometimes with the fact it's so rear biased. Even now, does mean it drags on a little bit on underpower sometimes. The laws of physics just pulling the car onwards, especially at a corner like the final one. But Castle's not able to find his way down the inside at a much better zone for the Porsche, like at turn 2. On board we go as they look for 9th place. They are a lap down, so they'll be doing a lap less than the overall leaders, and they may well be doing just 2 or 3 more before the end of this season.
And what a season it's been here in this Asetek SimSports GT Challenge. Fantastic. 4 great circuits too. Spa, Silverstone, here Brands Hatch, and also the technical challenge of Stetterton. And really, Remy Gilbert, he's been the master. What a way to win the championship in style. 14 seconds to the good right now, and a little mistake there from Sharp, and Crisp now got nearly a second to the good. Is that all Sharp's got in the tank with just under 2 minutes left?
I think so. I think we've been seeing all he's got in the tank for quite some time here. He's just making absolutely sure he can get to the end. What is he slowing down so much for here? Well, suddenly 2.5 seconds away, but anyway, he should be safe and sound for the title, as Castles still looks for his way through into 9th place. So we're going to see another frustrated driver in 2nd position on the way towards turn 2. He just kicks up some gravel, and there's going to be no chance for him from that distance. So Mike Barber continues in 9th position, and again Castle's looking for those exits, looking for those opportunities, but where are they going to come from? Mike Barber is going to defend for all he's worth with this length remaining in the race as well. There goes Castles down the inside. Barber's not going to let that happen too easily.
No, definitely not. Not going to roll over. That's for sure. It's the slight, the sort of hint of Falcon in that then goes green at the end.
Yeah. It's a very short hint, yeah, and then it fades rapidly. But there's a couple of Falcon-y liveries, if you like, from this series. So seeing that Aston Martin GT4 earlier on, that's not an actual Falcon livery, but does look like one from a distance.
Tribute livery.
Well, somewhat, yeah. Though, of course, with the Falcon sim racing team in sim racing now, I kind of think anything other than their cars don't really count. But anyway, that's a discussion for another day. There are only a few seconds remaining in the race. It's Remy Gilbert who is leading the way, and he can't be too far away from the start-finish line to end off the Asetek SimSports GT Challenge. What a great season it's been from him after an early season battle with Carl Valero at the opening round of the season in Silverstone. He came out second best in that one, came back to win at Snetterton. We thought that was because Valero didn't particularly enjoy the second round of the championship with regards to track choice. Well, he is certainly can't draw on that now. It was a round 3 victory at Spa that really put the distance between them, and in a day where he only needed a top 5, it looks like Gilbert is going to get all he can from this race. And it looks like Mike Barber is going to do all he can to hold on tonight as well. Let's see if he can do it into the Grand Prix circuit. He's holding on at the moment.
So final lap of the season then, and our champion-elect coming up towards the final corner. What a championship this has been. What a campaign. And Remy Gilbert, so impressive.
It's going to be 3 wins in a row to round up the season, and he's going to be the champion of the Asetek SimSports GT Challenge in GT3 Pro, and he'll be tied for the overall title win as well. A last lap pass for Luciano Wittbert looks like he's going to get him a podium place on this final race of the season as well, as Ryan Ward prevents an all-Lamborghini lockout of the podium places at Brands Hatch. Into the final corner they go. Ward looks up the inside. That was a full-on hope for him. He couldn't make it, and Wittbert finishes 3rd.
So Whitford coming home there in 3rd, and that will be 3rd in the championship for him. In fact, the top 3 in this race, finishing that way in at the championship. The pace has been hot at the front in the pro class. And I tell you what, talking about hanging on, Matthew Crisp under so much pressure there from Keelan Sharp wins the race. Sharp will take the title. Oh, that was quality.
Yeah, he eventually hangs on, does Matthew Crisp, and will take that final race win of this season. He really has been mixing it since he joined the series. Wasn't here for the opening round, but it just makes you wonder what he could have done as he finished on the podium 3 times in 3 appearances, a 3rd, a 2nd, and now a 1st to go to the end of the championship. It's Remy Gilbert who wins overall, though, ahead of Carl Valero, who did drop some seconds at the end there after 65 laps. Luciano Wittbert gets ahead of Ryan Ward for 3rd at the end, with Keith Stewart and George Streetley inside the top 6 for their team. Jordan Pierce joining them as well. The AM winner and championship winner, Johnny Earlier, wins and finishes 8th overall, ahead of Mike Barber, who held off Anthony Castles for 9th. In the 11th position, Adam Locke did hang on ahead of Chico Leventhal. Tom Weston was 13th. The last driver just 1 lap down. Dan Ciotti, Adam Goshen, Aztelecki and Nuno Costa were also 2 laps down. Nick Dealey was a few down in that one. Then those who struggled a bit more today. Marco Silva, Jack Southfield were a lot further back, I'm afraid, in GT3, as were Andy Jones and Nathaniel Simpson. In the GT4s, Matthew Crisp did hang on by 2.1 seconds, I should say, ahead of Kieran Sharp, who wins the championship in Pro. It's Richard Jepp 3rd, ahead of Matt Cheverton, who becomes the first different race winner other than Ollie Ettridge in the GT4 AMS. Stuart Bickley finishes ahead of Ettridge, who ties the overall championship with the overall race winner. Mikey Pollard finishes 7th ahead of Nathan Tyke, Ganneman Preuss and Stephen Koenig. The 2 teammates both inside the top 10 for the first time together. Louis Heska finishes 11th out of James Smagersgale, with Andy Chell in 13th. Richard Simner just didn't quite have his day in his Pro Championship battle. Alistair Pollock finished 15th ahead of Carl Chase and Jake Pitt, who was 17th. Well, that is it for the 6 hours of this season. The Asetek SimSports GT Challenge is won in GT3 by Remy Gilbert, who now joins us. Welcome in, Remy. Good to have you with us again. What's it feel like to have this championship finally wrapped up? Was there much pressure on yourself going into today?
Well, I knew that all I had to do was really just try and get a top 5, and that would pretty much guarantee me the championship win. To get a win is even better, so 3 out of 4. Don't think it could have gone much better, to be honest, so yeah, it's really good.
Could hardly have gone much better, really. When you look back at the season now, I guess that race at Silverstone almost sort of is pushed to the back of your mind almost, because you've had some great races since then, winning at Seston, Spa and now Brands Hatch. You must be really pleased with the way this season's gone, and you must not be letting that second place, which is still a really good result, be sort of putting a downer on your season by any means. You must still be very pleased.
Yeah, very pleased. I'd just like to thank Guild Esports for everything. Motorsport UK for putting a great show on, great racing, everyone's super respectful, so yeah, really enjoyed it.
It was fantastic indeed. Very good. Congratulations on the title and the win tonight as well. Thanks for coming to chat to us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Remy Gilbert there, the winner in GT3 Pro, both for the championship and today. He was ahead of Gal Valero, who finished in second and also joins us now. Welcome in, Gal. Good to have you with us. Second place in the championship confirmed with a second place here today. What were your feelings going into this race? How were you liking Brands Hatch in practice, and what were you expecting from 90 minutes here?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting much. You know, I can't complain about the result when you don't put the time in. So yeah, I went in pretty, I won't say without preparation, but yeah, little preparation, recovering from PCO Infinity. So I knew where I was starting, and yeah, Guild started to play their little silly games with the teammate. I guess that's how it is nowadays in sim racing.
Yeah, it's all these things do happen. I mean, what was it like trying to overtake in that situation? Because there were plenty of drivers trying to do so, and plenty of people trying to stay with Remy as well, but nobody could in the end. Was it a tricky circuit to overtake on?
Oh, it's not even about being tricky, it's just you park it at the apex, and you know that with this damage model, if you have a rear to front contact, it's gonna spin the guy behind, so you just have to park it. And yeah, happened in Spa. I should have seen it here as well. I guess I wasn't in that mindset anyway. Good overtake on the undercut and managed to get away, so I guess that's really about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations on second in the championship, though, Gal. Good to have you with us for the 4 rounds of the season. Thanks very much for coming to chat to us as well.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for the championship.
Thanks very much. Gal Valero there, second place in today's race and the championship as well. And third place to round things up was Luciano Vitbert, who joins us now as well. Welcome in. Good to have you with us for the first time in the season. Third place in the championship for you today. Not a sim I've obviously seen you on very often, to be honest, iRacing, but how have you enjoyed the season?
Oh man, it was all about the learning for me in the GT3 cars, because obviously it's so much different than Race Room and ACC, so I just wanted to get some good experience against some quick guys, and I think I managed that this season. And like the fuel saving was also an interesting part of it, so pretty pleased overall.
Yeah, had a lot to it this series. How are you enjoying the Porsche, both in terms of that driving aspect and sort of learning a GT3, if you like, but also in terms of fuel saving as well? Was it a particularly thirsty car on the fuel?
Yeah, it was not a really nice car on the fuel. I think I had like 4 liters less than all the other cars in the field, which made it tricky on Spa. I was quite okay, but in the first race I just ran out of fuel at the end, because I wasn't aware that the car was so heavy on fuel, so I had to pit the second time. And then on Sanderton I was okay, Spa was fine, and today I had to fuel save really heavily in the first stint, which is why you saw me dropping back. After like half an hour I fell back like 5 positions, just to get an extra lap. So, and in terms of driving the Porsche, it's really enjoyable. It has a lot of traction, it has a lot of grip, and you can really throw it into the corner.
That makes a lot of sense. We were wondering at the time. Thanks very much for coming to chat to us, though, Luciano. Great to hear from you again, and congratulations on another podium tonight.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Thanks very much, Luciano Vitt, their third place in GT3 Pro. Now let's go to the other class champions, starting with Johnny Elliott, who now joins us. Another win for yourself, Johnny, in the race, but more importantly, the title as well. How are you feeling now that one is complete?
Yeah, no, good. Yeah, feel really good. Stoked on that. That was a really tough race, actually. Just despite having a bit of a gap and being on your own, it's a battle against the track because, as you know, with brands, as soon as you put a wheel on the grass or anything like that, that's it. So yeah, no, really chuffed. Tough race, but yeah, enjoyed it.
I mean, how was the traffic to deal with around here? It's not an easy circuit in terms of undulations and narrowness. Was the GT4s a problem?
There was one incident where it was a bit sketchy, but to be honest, as long as you take your time, which I was able to do, so yeah, took my time, got past them as smoothly as possible, but enjoyed it really. Actually enjoyed traffic. They behaved themselves, so yeah, no, it was good.
Great to hear. Hopefully they're the same about you.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe a few won't, but yeah.
I'm sure it's fine. Johnny, congratulations on the title, and thanks for chatting to us through the season as well.
Thank you. To everyone as well, organisers, broadcasters, everyone. Yeah, no, thank you. Looking forward to the next one. Cheers.
Thanks very much, Johnny Elliott, the winner in GT3 Pro. The GT4 Pro was won by Kieran Sharp, who can now join us as well. Kieran, what a great finale in GT4 Pro. It was looking like it was going to be, but then it was all of a sudden a lot more comfortable in the second half of the race. So, got to wonder though, did you know the situation with Richard Simner and what was going on in his race and what was going wrong indeed for his race throughout that one, or were you sort of running your own race unawares as to what was happening behind?
Yeah, I came in for the pit stops, knew it was going to be tight because he decided to come in, and I think staying out was the bad call, so I thought he was going to jump me. Then I saw that his stop was taking a lot more longer than it should have done, so yeah, I think I had the 40-second lead over him compared to after his pit penalty. So yeah, I just had to kind of play it safe in traffic, and then I managed to catch up to Crisp there at the end for the actual win, but I couldn't do anything too dangerous to get the move done.
Yeah, we did wonder really whether you didn't know because you didn't make any moves for the win, but I understand it's very difficult. Was that what was at play? You just couldn't get through, or were you sort of not taking any risks because of the situation?
Yeah, like to get a move done at Brands, it's got to be quite forceful, and that means you've got to take a risk. And I think there was a few opportunities maybe I could have sent it up with confidence, but you just don't know if it's going to stick or they'll see it coming. So I just had to play it safe, and you never know GT3 traffic as well, so it's better to be on the safer side there.
It certainly is. Congratulations on the title, Kieran, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Right, thanks.
Thanks very much, Kieran Sharp there, the title winner in GT4 Pro. And finally in GT4 Am, Oliver Ettridge is the champion. Congratulations on that one, Oliver. I mean, it was probably nervy for yourself, I would have thought. Tell us your feelings after the first few minutes or so when you suddenly found yourself quite far down towards the back.
Yeah, I don't think you want exactly what was going through my mind at that point. Yeah, I think thankfully the last three races gave me enough points that I think 8th in class would have been enough for the championship. So I never felt that was at threat, but I wanted the perfect record of 4 wins, but unfortunately that wasn't to be. Yeah.
Right, it does mean that with that second place, you will be tied in the overall championship at the moment, regarding obviously provisionally. Before anything post-race, we'll see if there is anything, if there's any surprises, but that does keep you tied at the top of the championship. I mean, it was that does that sort of make it a bit of a disappointment almost tonight that you weren't able to go for the win, because you obviously pushed back so far by that incident that a win was almost, never a hope anymore after that first incident, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think a win was still a hope. I think because I had several other incidents. I think I got about 40 seconds worth of spins and crashes in total. So I still felt like I could climb back up and get that overall win. But so slightly disappointed there, but it was still a good race, battling through the field, and yeah, we can't be too disappointed with finishing joint top.
Exactly. And winning 3 times is not bad at all. Congratulations on the GT4 AM title, Oliver, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Oliver Etchers there, the GT4 AM champion. And alongside Remy Gilbert, he will be the overall champion as well, of course. Peter, a great season and a great way to end it out as well. 6 hours of racing now complete, and GT4 and GT3 action showing that once again the 2 cars interacting makes for some fantastic racing across the UK and indeed across Europe as well.
That was fantastic, wasn't it? Particularly here at Brands Hatch. So unpredictable because, you know, that multi-class traffic provided such a challenge for the drivers. But I think we had our worthy champions in the end. Remy Gilbert just imperious there, wasn't he? Great. Big props to Johnny Elia as well from the Porsche Club of Great Britain sim racing community. I know his mum Anne will have been watching, so well done to Team Elia. Kieran Sharp, yeah, really classy champions drive to close things off, and of course Oliver Etchers there too. So yeah, 4 worthy champions, I'd say.
Yeah, congratulations to the race winners tonight who we didn't chat to, and also the champions who we did as well. But a big thank you to you as well for tuning in. I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside Peter Mackay. Hugo Louise has been behind the cameras here this evening. This has been the Asetek SimSports GT Challenge here from Motorsport UK. A big thanks to everyone for tuning in. Until we see you next time, it's goodbye for now.